Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Nathan, and I'm the coordinator manager for Google Hanguk. And joining me to help moderate is Yasti, who is one of our student coordinators. We'll give another minute or so for people to join the webinar, and then we'll jump right in and get started. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them in the chat or the Q&A section, and we'll be sure to address them as we go through the webinar. Feel free to question or write your questions and comments during the webinar. Don't feel like you have to wait till the very end, and we'll be sure to review the chat and either answer you within the chat, or I'll be answering questions as well as we go through the slides. Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, depending on your time zone. In Korea, it is now just a couple minutes after 10 a.m. and we will get started with the webinar slides right now. So again, my name is Nathan. I'm the coordinator manager for Google Hanguk, and thank you very much for joining. We'd like to explain just a little information about our service and how you can live and study in Korea with us. So our company was created by students and for students to live and study for Korea. And we were actually started in Japan as a corporation for those that wanted to live and study in Japan. And then the Korea office was opened in 2016. So we've been helping you live and study in Korea for just over 8 years now. And in terms of the whole company, we just celebrated our 15th anniversary. So Google Hanguk can help you at every stage with living and studying in Korea. The first step would be to apply to language school. And then we can also help you with finding accommodations, can help you with your visa processing. And then, of course, while you're here in country, with any questions and concerns you have with your living and studying in Korea, and then afterwards, with exploring your future after you've studied Korean, and maybe you want to continue using Korean language in your professional life or in academia, or if you want to explore other options for staying in Korea and continuing your life in Korea. Hello to those in Arizona, where it looks like it's early in the evening. And in the webinar, we'll just review the different ways you can study with us. And the first way is with Korean language school within Korea. So with Korean language school, this is just some points about the experience that you'll have at our partner schools. So during a term, you're going to be in class for 4 hours per day, Monday through Friday. And depending on your skill level, as well as the school, you may start in the morning or the afternoon. As I mentioned, you'll be in class from Monday through Friday during the term for 5 days a week. And for each school, you'll have homework, and you'll also be expected to do review and self-study outside of class. And there are 4 starting terms each year for March, June, September, and December. And you can study actually in Korean language school for up to 2 years in Korea. And we feature schools in 3 different cities with varied intensities and characteristics. And let me move the camera out of the way so you can see that text there. We received one question already, and it's about if there's an age limit for studying in Korean language school. And there really is no age limit as long as you're 18 years old or older and are at least a high school graduate, as Yasti typed in the chat. So if you haven't contacted us already, then feel free to contact us using the link in the pinned comment above, and we'll be happy to assist you. Hello from Honduras as well. Yeah, if we haven't responded to your contact form yet, normally it takes us a couple days to respond, just depending on the number of inquiries we have. So if you haven't received a reply from us yet, then if you haven't heard from us in about 3 days, feel free to send another form and we'll be in touch. Otherwise, normally we post the webinar link afterwards to our YouTube channel, so you can see this information later as well. So I just wanted to touch on the application timeline for Korean language school, since many of you have questions about like when you should contact us and what you need to prepare. So you can see here up to about 3 months before you'd like to start studying, you can research your options on our website. We have information about all our partner schools on our website. And as I mentioned earlier, you can use the contact form to send any questions or concerns to us. And you also need to pay an application fee. The application fee isn't charged by us, it's per language school. They each have their own fee. So our service is completely free. You don't have to pay us any extra money or any other service fees to get your questions answered or get help from us to submit your application. And then you'll need to prepare your application documents. And once all of those are complete, you'll get an invoice for your tuition fee from the school. And then once the tuition is paid, and if you're going to be studying long-term and need the visa sponsorship from the school, then the school will issue your certificate of admission. And that's normally when a lot of people will book their flight and then apply for their visa to study in Korea. About 1 month before you start studying, we can assist you with accommodations if necessary, and also help you with things like a SIM card or airport transportation. And also, of course, don't forget to pack all your things for Korea. We do provide a suggested packing list as well, so you know what to pack or what you need to remember to bring from home that you can't find in Korea. And then, of course, when you get to Korea, we can help you with settling in, and also with questions about immigration and starting off at language school. Another question I see is, do you accept all nationalities? We can help most nationalities. It depends on immigration's rules, as well as your nationality's rules for coming to Korea. So if you still haven't heard from us, or if we're not able to assist you, then normally it says on our website, depending on what your nationality is. And then the next way that Gogo Hanguk can help you study is with our visiting program. Another question before we talk about the visiting program, about accommodation. Do all schools have dormitories? All of our university partner schools have dormitories. The schools that don't are private language academies called LTL and Lexus Korea, but they do have something called their own accommodations. For example, Lexus Korea has their own student residence, which is similar to a dormitory. So we can help you with different accommodations, even if the school doesn't have a specific dormitory. You can find the information about the accommodations we can help with on our website, and I'm actually going to review that later in the webinar as well. So getting back to the visiting program, it's actually for undergraduate bachelor's degree students who want to have a temporary study abroad at our partner school called Hanyang University. And there are courses available in both Korean and English. And Hanyang features over 1,000 different courses that are taught in English, so you don't need to know Korean to be able to study in the visiting program. And you will receive a transcript for the courses you take. So depending on your university or college's requirements for credit, you'll have the transcript proof that you took the courses at Hanyang to transfer credit if you wish. And there's no specific GPA or language proficiency test required. So as long as you submit the general application documents for the visiting program, you can be admitted. And in Korea, the two main terms are the fall and spring, and the spring term starts in March and the fall term starts in September. Another question about accommodations, which I'll touch on later in the webinar, though. And if you need accommodations, then we help you arrange that. Otherwise, you're welcome to arrange accommodations yourself. And similar to the age question earlier, there's no limit for the age limit for the visa for studying Korean in Korea. So you can apply as long as you're over 18 years old and at least a high school graduate. Yes, for the visiting program, you need to be a current undergraduate bachelor's degree student. And thank you, Gasti, for answering the questions in the chat as well. I'll try to answer them as I see them in the chat as we go through the slides as well. I see a couple questions in the Q&A section. So before we jump into study trips, I just want to answer these really quickly, and we can loop back into the questions as well later. For payment, you'll need to pay the tuition fee all at once. So for example, if you register for 2 terms, you'll pay the tuition fee for 2 terms. You don't have to start with a really long study period. For example, you could start with 2 terms and later extend it within Korea. So I just explained about Korean language school and also the visiting program. So if you're an undergraduate student, then you can study in the visiting program. Or if you'd like to just go to language school, then you can apply for just language school. And for Korean language school, you don't need to be a current or former university student. It doesn't matter even if the language program is at a university. As we mentioned earlier, you just need to be at least 18 years old and at least a high school graduate. And is language proficiency required for all long-term studies? I'm not sure what that language proficiency is referring to. There's no language proficiency requirement for the visiting program, and you don't have to know any Korean if you'd like to start learning Korean language. You can be a complete beginner and still attend language school or our study trips. So let me jump back into the slides really quick and go back to how you can study with Google Hanguk. So the next type of service we provide are short-term study trips here. And study trips are 2 to 3 weeks long, depending on the trip, and they include Korean language lessons, accommodations, and activities. And we provide you with activity coordinators that can speak at least Korean and English, if not more languages. And we get participants from all over the world. And they're offered in spring, summer, and fall. And right now we are preparing to launch our schedule for 2025. And we offer the study trips every year. And the next year's schedule is normally released around the fall or winter. So I know many of you have been asking about the 2025 study trips. So we'll have that information published hopefully by the end of this month, if not early October at the latest. We're just finalizing the schedules and information for all our trips. So please be on the lookout for that on our social media, as well as your inbox for those that have directly inquired about the study trips. And in terms of the study trips, we do offer them for adults, those that are 18 years old or older, as well as youth. And the youth trip is for those 14 to 17 years old. One more question here. What are the future possibilities to remain in Korea after studying and get a good grasp of the language? That really depends on what you'd like to do afterwards. There are those that like to go into university in Korea, so either studying for undergraduate or a graduate course. There are those that like to work in Korea, so they find an employer that can hire them and then sponsor an employment visa. You can, of course, continue to study in Korean language school up to 2 years. So many people start with something shorter, like 6 months, and then decide to extend their study period up to 2 years with that study visa. So I can't really say if it's going to be easy or hard for you. It just depends on what you'd like to do, your background, if you want to go into academia or be employed. It really depends on kind of your goals and what your future will look like with Korean language. I see SD is continuing to answer questions in the chat. So, we're going to touch on employment as well a little later. So we'll wrap up here with the final way we can help you with studying Korean. So if you're not able to travel to Korea immediately, then we do have online courses as well. So we've developed online courses with 2 different schools, Hanyang University and Hanguk University. So they offer 2 similar but a slightly different style of courses. And for Hanyang, we actually offer a level 1 and 2, which would be a beginner and then kind of a pre-intermediate. And then the Hanguk course is offered at level 1. And with the online courses, there's a mix of videos and audio recordings and worksheets and, of course, tests to help you track your progress through the course. And you can get an official certificate from the school once you pass the final exam. So then when you later come to Korea, you can actually start in the next level up. And we also offer an online community where you can ask questions and get them answered by our staff and or the teachers. So don't worry about studying by yourself. There are other people studying the same course, which may have similar questions or comments about the course as you do. We also offer an app to learn Hangul, which is the Korean alphabet, and it's called Hangul Quest. So this is a fun and interactive tool we've developed to help you learn the Korean alphabet. And it goes through each of the different characters and how to write them. And you can see here as the example, it gives you the stroke order and also the pronunciation as well. And you can download it from Google Play or the Apple App Store. And it looks like we have a couple other questions here. Since we had questions on accommodations earlier, let me just review the different accommodations we can assist you with. So currently we can assist with 4 different types of accommodations. These include a share house, dormitory, goshiwon, and homestay. And just to touch on each a little bit, the share house is an apartment or home within Korea, and each of the different bedrooms are rented out to different residents. So you could have Korean housemates, you could have other international housemates. The share house companies try to keep it a balanced mix of both, depending on, of course, where the share house is located and the residents at the time. So you would rent your own bedroom, and some of them also have their own bathroom. Otherwise, you would share things like the living area and kitchen area. For the dormitories, as I mentioned earlier, all our university partners offer dormitories. The only ones that don't offer those are our private academy partners. And the dormitory style kind of varies depending on the school. However, if you contact us with your school choice, then of course we can let you know specific dormitory information and the style of room and its features. The goshiwons are type of student housing in Korea. As you can see from the small photo, they normally include some storage, your bed, a desk, chair, and our goshwons almost all feature ensuite bathrooms. So you do have your own bathroom for the goshwon rooms. And we have many different partners located next to our schools or within close proximity of our schools. So you can choose any goshwon you like amongst our partners if you need assistance. You don't necessarily have to live next to your language school if you see a property that you like that isn't right next to your language school that you've chosen. And the fourth type is the homestay. And the homestay is living with a Korean host family in their home or apartment. And they can either provide breakfast and dinner to you in addition to your bedroom. You'll have your own bedroom. It depends on the home or apartment if you'd have your own bathroom. Otherwise, you'd share other spaces with the homestay family, the living area, the kitchen, etc. And as I mentioned, you don't have to use Gogo Hanguk to help you with the accommodations. However, many people do choose us to help with accommodations, as it can be kind of overwhelming to try to find your own accommodation in addition to completing the Korean language school or visiting program application process. So this kind of helps you along and speeds things up for settling in Korea. As someone mentioned, working while you're studying, this is just a little information about working part-time in Korea. And since the vast majority of you come for Korean language studies with the D41 visa, which is the student visa for Korean language students, this is just a brief summary of the rules. And of course, feel free to contact us if you have further questions about this. So during the term, you can work up to 20 hours per week. And this kind of depends on your Korean language proficiency. So if you'd like to work up to that maximum amount, then you need at least a TOPIK level 2. And for those that don't know, the TOPIK is the test of proficiency in Korean language that's run by the government. And with working part-time, of course, you can practice your Korean with your fellow employees, as well as the people you may interact with your employment. And it can help you cover your cost of living in Korea, and of course, help you make further connections within Korea as well, and build your resume with work experience in Korea. And since I touched on the cost of living, these are just some rough figures for a budget for 6 months. I have put them in US dollars. However, feel free to convert to your own currency, or you can note the numbers here and convert the currency later. Most of the time, we quote that you need to have at least the equivalent of 10,000 US dollars for 6 months of expenses in Korea. This, of course, can vary depending on your spending habits, your eating habits, what type of accommodations you have, where you're going to live, and things like that. So, of course, adjust accordingly. However, this is kind of a good estimate for your cost of living. And recently, we also published a cost of living calculator on our website. So you can check that out. If you go to our website, it's linked in the top right, and it's also listed in the footer of hyperlinks. So you can put in everything from your school choice, your cost of insurance, and different startup costs like that, your flight. So feel free to use that tool as well to help you budget, and it can break down the costs. I believe Yasti is diligently answering questions in the chat. Let me see if I have some I can answer for you as well before we jump to the next slide. Yeah, so I touched on the number of hours that you can work. In terms of the type of work you can do, most people will work in service jobs or retail, hospitality, office jobs if you can get them. There are certain industries that have very specific rules for who can work in them. So, for example, language students can't work on a farm. They can't work in manufacturing. You cannot work in teaching because those jobs have a specific visa for that. So any type of teaching, language teaching. For example, you won't be able to do that as a language student. However, you can do pretty much every other job, a part-time job within Korea, work in a convenience store, work in retail. We can't specifically help you find a job. However, there are many, many resources out there within Korea to help you find part-time work. You don't need the TOPIK test to work part-time in Korea. However, to get like the maximum number of allotted hours, you will need a specific TOPIK score. So you can still work part-time even without the TOPIK score. However, your hours may be limited. That is less than 20 per week. So as I said before, it is possible to find your own housing as well. If you'd like to find your own accommodations, you are free to do so. So this is just a quick comparison about the advantages of using Google Hanguk. We're in daily contact with our schools and our partners, including our accommodation partners and other service providers. So you'll get the most up-to-date and quickest information with using us and our partner schools. And we make the application process as simple and easy as possible for you, and checking your documents along the way. A lot of times, without using a service like Google Hanguk, you just have to send all your documents at once and things may not be accepted or your application may be declined by the school. However, with us, we make sure to check your documents consistently to make sure that they'll be accepted by the school upon your application, and to make sure that you get that tuition invoice as soon as possible. And while this webinar is in English, we are going to offer webinars in other languages, and we support many other languages besides English. For example, we support French and Spanish and German and Swedish and Italian. So if you speak one of those other languages, be on the lookout for that specific webinar. Otherwise, our website is translated to all those languages, and the information that we provide to you as coordinators is also in those languages. So don't feel bad if English is not your first language. In this case, we can provide assistance in many other languages as well. And as I mentioned earlier, we provide quick updates and reliable service. As the pinned comment says, we try to get back to you in 3 business days, if not quicker. And we are in constant contact with all our schools and our service providers, as mentioned in the first point. And let me just double check for questions again. So yeah, you don't need to be a current university student or even a current student at all to be considered for Korean language school, as Yasti mentioned in the Q&A section. And that goes for if you want to apply to our private academy partners or our university language school partners. Even though the program is at a university, you don't need to be a current or even former university student to study in the university language schools. So in terms of the slide information, we have wrapped up all the information, general information about Google Hanguk and how we can help you live and study in Korea. And as we still have some time left in the webinar, we can still continue to take questions. Or if you have any other concerns about living and studying in Korea, we are more than happy to help you. Let's just double check the Q&A section first. Clayton asked about why people might want to come to Korea. Many people simply enjoy Korean language and culture, so they like to study the language a little bit more within Korea. And Our service was founded to do just that, to help people live and study in Korea and specifically go to Korean language school. And since then, as I mentioned, we have other ways to help you with your Korean language journey. So if we go back to the list here. So besides just Korean language school, we also help with the visiting program, as we mentioned earlier, the short-term study trips, and of course our online programs as well. Let's see, we have many different questions here. Someone asked about our tutors available through Google Hanguk. We don't provide private tutoring at this time. However, if that's something you'd like to have in addition to attending language school or attending the visiting program, then you can definitely pursue that. There are many services out there that can provide you with one-on-one tutoring. Of course, rates will vary depending on the service or the amount of hours you want to do. However, if you'd like to supplement your Korean language learning with a private tutor, then there are various resources out there to help you do so, either online or in person. So yes, we do provide support in German, and Yasti provided the link to our German website. If you do contact us and you say that you'd like assistance in German, then our coordinator, Lara, will be happy to help you in German. If you'd like to study for up to 2 years, someone asked about the budget. In general, I would simply take the 6 months budget and kind of extract it out to 2 years, just depending on like your accommodations and again, your spending habits, your eating habits and things like that. However, of course, it can be adjusted. Of course, you'll only have to fly to Korea once unless you like to go back and forth to your home country during a break or want to travel outside of Korea. So maybe the flight cost will be just a one-off cost and different things like that. Maybe either recurring or non-recurring costs. So again, I encourage you to use our cost of living calculator to help you budget. You can study less than 6 months. You can study for 3 months. You can study for 1 week. You can actually study as short as 1 week or as long as 2 years. So, for example, if you'd like to study in a university program, 1 term is about 3 months. So yes, you're welcome to study 3 months, or you can study actually even shorter than that at our private academy partners, as well as you can do our study trips, which are 2 to 3 weeks. So you have a variety of options for the length of study. So as you can see, the study trips are 2 to 3 weeks long. And actually for Korean language school, those, again, can be as short as 1 week or as long as 2 years with the visa sponsorship. So I believe Yasti already asked about or answered the question about scholarships. So unfortunately, we don't administer any scholarships or financial aid, but you're welcome to explore those different options yourself. Sometimes your country's government may offer scholarships to study abroad or financial aid. There may be other foundations or organizations that can help you fund your journey to Korea. And in terms of payment, as long as you or that financial institution can wire the money for the tuition to the school, then you're more than welcome to use aid. So someone asked about the application process. So let me go back to the language school application process a little bit. So you can see about 2 to 3 months before you will start your language study, you'll need to have all your application documents prepared. So if you're going to be graduating in June 2025, then you may be cutting it close for the fall of 2025, depending on when you receive your diploma, for example. However, if you aren't going to receive it like within June or July 2025, you can still apply using your high school diploma as long as you have one available to use. and then just say like you recently graduated and your college diploma isn't available. So just let us know what documents you have available during next summer, and then we can help you for the fall of 2025. So depending on if you need a visa to study, for one, if you're studying long term or if you're studying short term, like say 3 months or less, as most countries receive visa free entry for 90 days or less in Korea, you may not even need a visa. In terms of payment, the fee for the visa really depends on your local Korean embassy or consulate. So I suggest contacting them directly to see what the visa fee will be. And the fee really varies depending on the country and the location of the consulate or embassy. So it's hard to give like a ballpark figure, unfortunately. It just really depends on what fees the embassy or consulate sets. So again, my name is Nathan. I'm the coordinator manager for Google Hanguk, and joining me to help moderate is Yasti, one of our student coordinators. And we specifically work in the international market, which is for those that we assist in English. However, as I mentioned earlier, we support many other languages, including French and Spanish and Italian and German and Swedish. So if you would like assistance in those languages, you can definitely send us the contact form using those languages as well. You're very welcome, Harry and Trinity. Yeah, while you're studying, if you're only studying as a tourist here in Korea, you can't work, but you can still consider maybe finding a job that can hire you later after you are here studying as a tourist. And you could find a job that you can apply for later that can sponsor an employment visa for you. And as Yasti mentioned, we're currently in the application period for the December 2024 term or later. And we'll also have our study trip applications open very soon. We're trying to finish the preparations for all of those by the end of this month. And I think we'll continue to take questions for another couple minutes here. I believe we've covered most of them either within the chat or I have answered them myself. And if you do think of a question or concern after the webinar, then of course feel free to use our contact form and we will definitely get back to you as soon as possible. Again, someone asked about the process for applying. So if you'd like to get started on the application process early, then that's definitely okay. So if you're thinking about studying during the summer of 2025, then you can definitely reach out now. Depending on the school, we may or may not have all the information for all of 2025 yet. However, most of our schools have already released their calendars for 2025. And if we don't have it yet, then we expect to have most, if not all of them, by October of this year. And then we can, of course, update you as the schools release more information. And if you want to study during the fall of next year, then I definitely recommend reaching out earlier rather than later. The fall term is the most popular term to start studying in Korea, just in general. So that's also when we're the busiest with processing applications. So it's definitely better to reach out sooner rather than later, especially for the spring and the fall terms. Those are the two most popular terms. Someone asked how the host families and students are matched. This really depends on when you need to move in, so availability, and also like specifically where you like to be located or the type of family you want. It's hard to match you, exactly to different preferences or location because it really depends on where the family is located and their availability as well. However, you'll get the information about the family you're matched with in advance. So if there's really something that doesn't click with you or that isn't to your preference when you get the accommodation confirmation, then you can let us know and we can try to find another family for you. However, in general, the host families are in more suburban areas rather than right in the middle of the city. That's just the nature of how most of the homestay families are. And they normally require a commute into the city or to your school. So just be aware of that if you'd like to live with a host family. And it's very common in Korea to commute to your school or work. So while we'd like to try to get you as close as to your school as possible with the host family, sometimes that just isn't feasible due to their location. Someone asked about delaying. You're more than welcome to delay if you need to. Depending on the school, they may need to adjust some things like if you've already paid tuition or something like that. But in general, delaying isn't too much of an issue, and we can help you adjust your schedule and documents accordingly if you do need to delay. So yeah, for again, a question about the homestay family. You can choose to stay with the homestay family per week. So if you want to try it for like 4 weeks and then change accommodations, that's fine. If you decide to study for a very long time and choose the homestay family for a longer term, then of course you can change your accommodations later. There are some terms and conditions for every type of accommodation. So just be aware of that when you're registering for either a share house or the homestay or the Goshiwon. And we can, of course, remind you of those terms and conditions once you register. Someone asked why is an academic background needed? For the Korean language program, it's just the minimum requirements they set for admission. For the visiting program, you have to be a current undergraduate bachelor's degree student. However, if you don't have a high school diploma or equivalent certificate or diploma, then feel free to reach out to us. We can send you some other options. If you don't have a high school diploma or higher, there are a couple things that we can still help you with. So just reach out to us and we can consult with you about that. So yeah, as Yasti mentioned, the start date does vary a little bit depending on the school. While most, as I mentioned, will start in March, June, September, and December, the specific date will vary depending on the school. So just reach out to us and we can give you all the specifics on the schools you're interested in. Someone asked about accommodations again. So specifically, we can only help with share houses, goshiwons, the homestay, and dormitories for our schools that have dormitories. If you'd like to rent your own, what they call in Korea, a one-room apartment, or what they may call in your country, a studio apartment, then you can use platforms like Airbnb or something like that to look for them. Unfortunately, we can't help you lease apartments yet. Can I use financial aid as my financial support? I'm not sure what financial support you mean, but for financial aid, if you do receive that, then normally that's applied to your tuition, depending on what the aid qualifies for. Let's see, I believe we got some more Q&A questions here. Already answered the question about the start date. So yeah, this, as I mentioned, the start date could be anytime during March, June, September, December. It really depends on the school. Some start at the beginning or the middle or the end of the month. So I believe we've answered the question about scholarships and financial aid a few times already. So feel free to contact us if you have any other specific questions about that. We personally aren't partnered with any specific scholarship or financial aid institution. Someone asked a question, what does a typical daily schedule look like? So as I mentioned here, during the term, you're going to be in Korean language lessons for 4 hours per day, Monday through Friday. So that's pretty much your schedule. In Korea, normally the students stay in the same classroom and the teachers rotate through the classrooms, as opposed to maybe some other countries where the teachers stay in the classroom and the students rotate. So, for example, maybe you'll have one teacher for listening and speaking, and then you'll have one teacher for reading and writing, and then another teacher for maybe dialogue practice or vocabulary and grammar or something like that. So it just really depends on the school and how they rotate through those topics. Otherwise, you'll be in class 4 hours per day, 5 days per week. And then when you're not in class, as I mentioned, the school expects you to review your lessons, preview the next day's lessons, do some self-study and homework to make sure that you're keeping pace with the curriculum, because it is designed to be a intensive and immersive experience. If you're not able to make a certain deadline for the application, then of course you can delay to another future term. As I mentioned, we can help you with adjusting your documents for a delay if you need to delay. Someone asked about the visa process. In general, once you pay your tuition fee, this is specifically for like the Korean language program, but once you pay the tuition fee, you'll receive your certificate of admission. And that certificate of admission is really what's needed for your visa application. So once you have that, then you just apply for your visa at your local Korean embassy or consulate, and then you just wait for it to be issued. If for some odd reason you have some issues with getting the visa issued, or the embassy or consulate requests more documentation from the school, then just let us know. In terms of the process, it's quite simple. Really, it just depends on the number of documentation or the amount of documentation that the embassy or consulate requires. This can vary depending on your nationality as well as the specific embassy or consulate. These days, the certificate of admission is issued digitally first, so by email. And then if you need a hard copy mailed to you, the school will do that for free. So again, you need to check with your local Korean embassy or consulate about what they require. Some accept the digital copy just printed off, and some want the one direct from Korea. Someone asked about the required materials for the Korean language course, I believe. The only school that specifically requires anything, other than yourself is Hanguk, because they have an ebook, so an electronic textbook. So for Dongguk, you would need to provide something like a tablet or a laptop in order to use the ebook. Currently, their ebooks don't support mobile phones, maybe just because of the format or the layout. So for Dongguk only, they're the ones that would require a laptop or a tablet for their ebook. And as Yasti mentioned, the ebook is currently used for level 1 through 4, but in the future, it will be used for all levels at Dongguk. And when you apply for Dongguk, we do detail that in the application requirements, so you're aware. In terms of the acceptance rate for language school, as long as you provide the required documents and you pay the tuition, you'll be accepted. It's very rare that you'll be declined unless there's some special circumstance. So if you believe that you have some extenuating circumstance for your application that might lead to the school having questions about you as a candidate, then please let us know. Send us the contact form and we can get back to you. Same for the study trip. There's really nothing that would disqualify you. However, if you think you have some special circumstance, then please let us know. So we're approaching the time for our webinar today. So we'll give people just a little bit more time to ask or answer their questions. Ask their questions, and we will be here to answer them for you. So you can see the current deadline for the upcoming term on our website. However, for future terms, just let us know when you'd like to start, and we can let you know. In general, the deadline's about like 3 months before the term starts. This, of course, can depend on the school and their specific starting date. However, in general, 3 to 4 months before is the deadline for any given term. So yes, Yasti posted the link about the language schools, and you can see each of these schools' deadlines for the upcoming term, which is, for now, it's the December 2024 term. So as we wrap up our time here for the webinar, I'd like to thank you again for attending and for all your questions. Again, we've been Nathan and Yasti from Google Hanguk, and we make it easy and simple to live and study in Korea through our various programs. Again, we can help you with Korean language school, the visiting program, our short-term study trips, as well as online programs. One last question as we wrap up here. Will I be able to travel during the program? So in general, yes. If you enter Korea just as a tourist, then you can, of course, travel other places and then come back. You just re-enter as a tourist. If you're here for study long-term with a visa, then you're going to need to wait until you have your residence card in Korea before you travel outside of Korea again. And then you can re-enter during your study period after having your residence card. So yeah, I mean, for term breaks or the weekends or things like that, then as I mentioned, depending on how you enter Korea, then yes, you can travel while you're studying outside of Korea and also within Korea. how long for the resident card? If you mean how long it takes to receive it, normally it can take up to 4 weeks to receive the residence card after you apply for it, but this really depends on how busy the immigration office is and the term that you apply for it. So I've heard of people getting it in as short as 2 weeks. So it's not something we necessarily control. It really depends on immigration. Otherwise, then I would estimate probably around 4 weeks. In terms of how long the residence card is valid, it's going to be valid for your visa period. So if you're going to be studying for 2 years, initially your visa and residence card is probably going to be valid for 6 months, and then you continue to extend that as you continue to study. So you can extend that within Korea. You don't have to leave and come back. Alrighty, we are just approaching 1 hour for our webinar. And again, thank you for your various questions and attendance. And we look forward to receiving your contact form. You can also reach out to us on social media. As I showed at the end of the presentation, we are on all the various social media platforms. I know many of you have been finding us on Instagram lately, as well as TikTok. It's best if you would like a more detailed response to your questions and concerns to simply send us the contact form. We do get like many comments and messages on social media, so we're not able to answer all of those directly all the time. However, we do try to get back to you as much as possible. You're very welcome. Thank you for attending. You're welcome. Glad we were able to help you. All right, we'll do one last call for questions, and then we will finish our webinar for today. And be on the lookout for the other webinars in other languages coming up later this fall, as well as other webinars or live streams from the international market from us. And as I mentioned, the best way to get your questions and concerns answered is by sending the contact form on our website. What are holidays like? If you're asking in reference to, say, Christmas and New Year's, in Korea, the winter is normally very cold. It does snow. However, a lot of people do enjoy coming to Korea specifically because it does snow and because there are things to do outdoors like hiking and skiing, snow tubing, things like that. In terms of the holidays, the major holiday in Korea over the winter is Lunar New Year rather than, say, Christmas or the calendar New Year. So that's a big holiday in Korea that can be upwards of 5 days long. In Korean, that's called Seol. All right, we have reached our hour for our webinar. So at this time, we will be signing off. Thank you very much for attending the webinar, and have a great rest of your day or rest of your evening. Again, this has been Nathan and Yasti with Gogo Hanguk. Thank you very much, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.